Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. We've been doing a few with people, with just us, honey. We're like
back to us. Where you started with us when we talked about this technology series, and we're ending with us.
It's kind of like we're on a date.
Exactly, wrapping it up.
We are just out on a date with our friends, all of our friends out there that are
talking about our lives and our experiences.
Yes, and so we started with this book, Screens and Teens, by Kathy Cook. Koch. I always want to call it.
It's K-O-C-H, yes. And so it's very confusing.
I want to say Koch.
Yeah.
And I think I used to know a guy that said it like that. So, but she says it as Cook.
She does say it as
and
Cook.
And she is a PhD. She's got a great book, Screens and Teens. But really, we just want to have a discussion about. We want to end this series. So, in the book, chapter 2, actually, Kathy talks about 5 truths. Now, there's a lot of stuff I think in the back about how to stop things, a bunch of practical stuff, if I remember right.
Well, so she'll go through those for sure. But actually, the book, she actually talks about the lies.
Yes,
so
that's
I
what I was
love
trying
it
to
that
think
she
of.
starts at the beginning of the book just talking about the truths. And so what we did is we pulled out these 5 truths that she talks about. She says they're essential insights that help us understand our teens' beliefs, what motivates them, their choices, and their behaviors. And so when you pull out those things and you understand those things, then that's what drives our kids.
And the way this lines up so much with what we teach at Crazy Cool Family is so often we see parents working on the outside of things. We want to control screen time, and these things are good. We're not saying in any way that they're bad, because they're not. But we focus so much on the outside. We don't focus, hey, what if your kid regulated themselves?
Right.
What if they believed certain things about technology with you, so that because how we believe will determine what we do. And if your kid, if we can talk to them about the internal beliefs, the truths about technology, about relationship, about all these things that we're going to talk about today, then the teenager says, you know what? It's a good thing for me not to be on my phone all the time, rather than the parent saying, hey, you shouldn't be on your phone all the time.
Right, exactly. And I love it that you said all that. And so what we're going to do today, though, is we're going to take her 5 things that she talks about, and we're going to share with you what we did as we raised our kids and how we addressed each of those 5 things. And you had said internally motivate them, but actually some of the things that we're going to talk about were the external things, which technology is an external thing. And so what is it that we did that basically matched, competed with, maybe even removed the desire for technology, because we did it a different way. We did it with relationships. Yep. We did it with people. We did it with things to do.
Well, and she's talking about things that the outside things are like how the teen interacts with their world and how they she said 5 truths about teenagers. And so one of them, the first one is this: teens' relationships build their beliefs. So what that means is who they're around is going to greatly influence what they believe, especially in the teenage years.
Exactly. And what she says, which is pretty crazy, is that it's the opposite for adults. Our beliefs are what drives our relationships. Like, we'll join a church because it lines up with what we believe.
Yeah.
Or our political party is what we believe. And so that's the people that we connect with. But the teens are just the opposite. They're relationships, which makes complete sense if you think about social media and how wrapped up our kids are. They're letting someone else tell them what they believe.
Yeah, they don't really know they haven't figured out yet what they really do believe.
Right, exactly.
So that's why she says teens change in their beliefs a lot.
Yes.
And as parents, so I was just thinking about this the other day. So Michael, our oldest son, is 21 years old. So he's a junior in college. He's thinking about what he wants to do when he grows up. And
can I say me too?
Yeah. Well, but in particular, he's got a lot of different ideas. And so as a parent, he had one idea. I won't tell you what it is. But he just had one idea that I was like, nah.
Did you tell him that?
No, I didn't. That's just it. Because I'm thinking, I don't think you're going to like that in the long run.
Right.
And I kind of just said, hey, so that surprises me a little bit, but I really
interesting.
But it wasn't that I didn't even like the idea. It was just that I told him, I said, hey, I'm not going to rain on any idea you have because you are in the process of thinking, and that's really what teens do. They think about. Michael's 21, so he's past being a teenager, but in the younger ages, they are really thinking about how. And we talk about even as a child is coming from like 12 to 18, they are forming their belief system.
Oh, most definitely.
And so they're asking questions, and so different people have influence on them.
And so back to Kathy's point, she says teens' relationships are built on their beliefs. And so what we did is, I'm not going to say that we picked our kids' friends, but we did make it very difficult for them to hang out with certain people more than other people. So there were people that lined up with what we believed, that lined up, like their parents were teaching their kids what we were teaching our kids, our principles and values, morals, all lined up. And it was a lot easier to play with those kids and invite them over.
Imagine that. Well, and I think also I can just remember having a lot of questions or discussions with our kids about, oh, really? What do you like about that person?
Yes.
Why do you? What makes you want to hang out with them?
Definitely.
Do they encourage you? Is it a good thing? And I think when you again asking questions, and the teenager thinks, maybe that's not a great relationship for me, and we've seen. I've seen it happen at least a few times with our kids that they were going down a certain friend path,
right? And
they chose to go somewhere a different friend path because of maybe those kids started doing some things they didn't like,
it might have even been that they believed something differently. I remember having a conversation with one of the girls, and they said, "Mom, this friend of ours, she believes that it's okay to have sex with whoever she wants whenever she wants." And I was like, "Okay, well, what do you believe? What do we believe? What does the Bible say about that?" And it kind of stopped the relationship a little bit because they didn't have those beliefs in common anymore. And so the whole point is that what we did is we did knowing that with small children, with teenagers, with small children, that the relationships build their beliefs, then we did the best that we could to surround them with people that believed what we believed,
and now that's
with church
even
and with school and all the different places where they were surrounded by people. Of course, it's not always going to be that way. You're not always, and the diversity of beliefs is really good. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. But if it was a radical different belief than us, then.
Well, and I think now those relationships extend to who they're talking online in their gaming and stuff like that. So you got to just continue to ask questions because, you'll never like the other day I was talking to one of my sons. I'm being so stealth here about who's, about what they're doing. No, I was talking to one of my sons and that son mentioned that he was interested in a military career. And I said, really? I said, how did you? I said, I've never been in the military.
Right.
We're not really around military people a lot. And he said one of them was, we went fishing, and this guy was in the service, and he said some things that triggered McCade to think about, oh, that's pretty cool, and how he.
That's the son.
I just said it, didn't I? Oh wow, sorry. Okay.
That's okay. You can know.
But, there was, no, forget it. I'm not stealth, I guess. So.
Open book.
I'm so transparent. Yeah. I have so much trouble lying. But,
or being a secret.
Exactly.
No, that's good, though. That is.
But, I didn't know that.
Yes.
And so, by asking the questions and talking to him about it, I found that out. And if sometimes you might find out some things where they've gotten maybe a wrong belief. And so you think, okay, well, why do you feel that way? Or how does that line up with Scripture? Whatever it is. And just asking those questions. Our teenagers are so smart.
Yes.
And they do want to, they want to have a good life. They're just trying to figure it out like we are. Just asking those questions help.
So just knowing that, just go back to just know that their relationships are dictating their beliefs. And so knowing that that's what's happening, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
Who are you going to surround them with? And if there are people in their lives, and there will be, that believe differently than what you believe and what you would like your children to believe, then process it with your kids by asking questions.
And I thought this second one was it was enlightening to me, and I think it's really true.
Because it doesn't feel true, because it feels like teenagers are
so selfish
and apathetic, and it's all about me. Yeah.
But it says that teenagers want to improve their world. And
the world, and our world, and the world that we live in.
And I think that they are so exposed to the world. We weren't exposed to the world I remember I was talking to a guy today who's about the same age as me, and we're in our 50s. And so I'm so stealth again, I won't say like my real age, right?
And so the guy's name.
Yeah. He was 60, I was 57, okay? So
my birthday's in September.
Yeah, exactly. So I was talking to him about reading the paper. How we used
the
to
newspaper.
The newspaper. Well, yeah, not just a term paper or anything. It was the newspaper. And so, but going through and how we would sit down, that's how we learned about the world.
Yeah.
Was through the newspaper or through magazines.
Or the 6 o'clock news or.
Yeah. And they have this constant, they're on YouTube and they're on, social media, and there's all these things happening where they are bombarded with the world. And so they get into causes, and then we dismiss those causes, or they don't line up with our political beliefs or whatever. And it can actually cause conflict in relationships, instead of having, let's see how we can have shared values to go towards, you were saying, we did things like we would put our kids in situations where they could serve. And when I said, the word I put down here was purpose. Mm-hmm. When our kids have purpose, and they have a purpose beyond themselves, that's a great thing. I love it.
Well, and know that
their world.
Yes, because that underlining desire is that they do want to improve the world. I think all human beings are wired with that. I really do. But I think that where it's different is that as a child, they're so self-centered. But as a teenager, they actually do start looking up and looking around. And they want to know where they can make an impact and where they can make a difference. And so what is it that we need to put in our kids' lives that they'll do that? And so just know that technology or gaming, for sure, both those places, they think they can improve the world. They can kill all the bad guys, or they can write an encouraging post. And so they feel like that is an outlet, but that is not the outlet that we use for our kids.
Well, but just think about this concept. It just kind of dawned on me as we were talking here. What is our goal as believers? We want to bring heaven to earth.
Right.
We want to bring it in, and it's a great, because why? We want the best life for ourselves. We want the best life for others. We want people to see God's grace. When they start to try to improve their world, however it is, that's just a little taste of bringing heaven to earth.
That's so
and
true.
They get a little taste of that, and then instead of wanting selfish things, they want more. I remember when we were young, and we had our kids were probably maybe 12, 13 years old. Every year we would do for our neighbors, we would do a babysitting project, and what we would do for Christmas. And we would tell all our neighbors, okay, this afternoon from 12 to 5, you bring your kids over.
So you can go Christmas shopping or decorate the house or do
whatever
you want to do. Exactly.
Yeah. And so all of our family was involved. We did it for probably 5 years in a row, something like that, till we got so tired of it. We couldn't stand it anymore. But but that was a way our kids learned to serve.
I think the little kids in the neighborhood grew up.
That's probably true.
I think that's probably more of what
but
it was.
But it was a hard day.
And so that's kind of one of the things that we did is, how did we have our kids help improve the world? Like, what was their outlet? And one of them was babysitting, taking care of the neighbor's kids or helping a neighbor or doing lawn work. Or, we were a part of a church that we actually got to help build build. And so, I mean, we were setting up chairs and cleaning bathrooms and emptying trash and doing childcare. Our children, even though they were in the classroom with us, they were actually the helpers. I mean, Molly pretty much ran the childcare in our church when she was 5 years old up. I mean, she was our helper. And so that's just one of the ways that we pushed our kids toward, this is how you're improving the world. This is how you're helping. We met that need.
Yeah, and I mean, even it graduated to be more like mission trips.
Yes.
And going on, trips all over the world. I mean, our kids, and it's been through the blessing of others. We have given as we could give to others. They've given to us. And, it's just been this community of people that have sent our kids, literally us and our kids, all over the world, Africa, China, we had, and mission trips just make them see the world, and you get to see people differently, and they get to serve and help and love and go through adversity
church,
and all that.
They built a school. Yeah. They've prepared meals. They've got shoes and distributed shoes, and so they've got to see that the world is bigger than them, and that they got to help improve it a little bit.
I remember Michael and I just literally making concrete out of sand and rocks and and gravel and the mortar mix, and we would just have to keep there was this process we went through, and we would shovel it through, and we were exhausted at the end of the day because we were building 13. Yeah, we were building a cinder block church in Honduras, and he'll never forget that trip.
Right.
It was a great experience where at the end of the day we were exhausted. We would eat beans and rice and tortillas, and we would talk about Jesus with men and teenagers.
Right.
Those are just examples of
and then one that's closer to home is, I just remember every year Don had the kids out there staining our fence, sanding it down and staining our fence. Now, the fence desperately needed it, and the kids did a terrible job, but it was a project for them to do that was outside of technology, and it was outside of what they even wanted to do, but they were able to see, we're improving the world. We're blessing our neighbors by creating a pretty fence. And
and even then, this relates to the third one, which are, and these two kind of go together. Teens are creative, innovative, and entrepreneurial.
And I think we don't give them credit for that. I really think we think that teens are lazy, they're apathetic, they're selfish. I mean, I don't think that we understand that they actually are creative. They need an outlet for that they want to change the world. And it's not through the school system. They don't want to sit in front of a teacher all day long and be told things. They want to do and explore and adventure. They want to create. And so I think that our school system is probably not meeting that need for them. And so as parents, what are we going to do? How are we going to meet that need?
Well, and I think that, one way is sports.
Yeah,
sports
that's how we did it for sure.
There's so much about sports that, requires creativity, requires everything, discipline, teamwork, so many things.
Cooperation, competitiveness. It teaches you how to win, how to lose.
How to follow authority, and
yes,
so many things. But let's talk about the innovativeness. And I think video games do that too. I mean, that's why kids are attracted to it.
That's why all of these things, that's why they're attracted to it.
Yeah, they want to figure it out. They want
Minecraft.
I love it.
Incredible. I mean, you take Legos and you make it virtual, and now you've got Minecraft. And that, I remember the little boys just showing me, Mom, show me this. And I was, virtually handicapped and go through and watch, how did you, what? I can't even fathom how they did it. And they built whole societies.
Yes. And they're so patient with it. Yes. I mean, it's just, I would,
block.
Yes. And I got to keep digging here. And I'm like, they had this farm game. And it would be like, it would take
the animals.
It would take days.
They wouldn't feed our chickens, but they'd feed their virtual animals.
It's like, I don't want anything to do with that. This is taking, give me some instant gratification. But but they loved it, and they love it, and they still, they go back and play, Minecraft and Terraria and all those things because it's like
so it is an outlet for that. And so so just think about that with your family. If you want to limit technology, or if you want to redirect them to real life experiences, know that your kids are creative and innovative and entrepreneurial. What can you do? All of my kids have had a lemonade stand. That is the rite of passage for childhood. good. And so if your kids haven't had that yet, then do that. I remember one year we were raising money for our church, and so we actually went and got mistletoe from the tops of trees,
Right.
tied a bow on it, and then sold it. And so they wanted to make money. The boys are all the time saying, Mom, do you think that I could do this and, make some money? You think I could go to all the neighbors and roll their trash cans out to the street for them and charge them, $5, And so what do we do with that? How do you grow that? How do you build that? How do you encourage that?
Let me just give you a few things I think relate to that. One of them is to look to create projects where they can succeed or fail.
That's
little
good.
things, like even at 3 years old, it can be so often we want to control everything and do it for them. Let them just try it. Put them in controlled situations all the way up and say, so let me give you some examples. Like a 3-year-old, let them try to build that on their own, and then let them look to you for help, or hey, let me just do that. Okay, now keep going, and if they make a mistake, it's okay.
Like we had just an example. We had our Truett here all weekend, and he's almost 3, and he loves to build things tall, vertical, and so he kept doing it, but it kept falling over, and he'd get frustrated. And I said, "Hey, what would happen if you put 2 blocks on the bottom? What would happen if you put 4 blocks on the bottom? That's called the base, and if you build the base bigger, then it can go taller." And so I didn't do it for him, and we just talked through it. And then the next thing you know, he's like, y'all, look at this giant tower. I'm like, it's all about the base, buddy.
Well, and it goes all the way to Maddox, our 17-year-old. I'm just going to name him. We're not going to go stealth on this. Okay, we're not going on this. But no, Maddox.
You've mentioned all 3 sons,
exactly.
so that's good, babe.
Maddox is in now. We just launched a YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching our podcast. We actually film our podcasts now and put them on YouTube if you're listening to the podcast. And so
so if you want to watch us,
that's right. You can watch us. I'm having hand motions right now as we talk. And so, I'm talking with my hands. But we put Maddox in charge of the YouTube channel. I said, Maddox, I want you to make
substantially
this
more than we do about YouTube. So will you make us look good and sound good?
And he is. I can't talk. Yeah, this chokes me up talking about it. He has brought so much insight into that because but it's just filling that creativity, that innovation. Hey, Dad, he was just in here. Hey, when we were talking about whether we're going to set this up with 2 tables or 1 table, and how the camera's going to be set up, and
when to look at you on the screen, and when to
and how to do the intro and the thumbnails, what it's called.
Well, and he's even said he really enjoys it, and it's because it's that creative outlet. He goes, I didn't think I'd like this as much as I do, but I really do. He's actually going to probably take a class in the spring about editing, just so he can go to the next level.
So every level. So we're talking about helping our teens improve their world. Just engaging with them. I forgot to say this, but back to the relationships. Just for a minute.
Back to the first one, because that was the second one, and we're actually talking about the third one.
Yes.
But we're going back to the first one.
But it goes back to the whole thing, and it really influences all 3 of these, because the 4th one and the 5th one are a little bit like they'll take a little bit different spin. But it says this book says teens are influenced by relationship. And so parents have to grow the relationship. This is in chapter 2 of Kathy's book. We have to show them we believe our relationship is meaningful, so they believe the relationship is meaningful. It doesn't matter what we say is true, it's what teens see as true.
Wow.
And it's so cool. Good. So in all of these 3 things, what are you doing to help build their beliefs? You do it through relationship. What are you doing to help them learn to improve their world and to bring heaven to earth? You do it through relationship, by engaging with them and giving them opportunities. What do you do to help them be creative, innovative, and entrepreneurial? Even one of the things I was going to say as I was going through my list there was talk to them about their video games.
Right.
Just sit down and talk to them.
So true.
And hey, what are you doing with Minecraft there? Or how does this game work? Well, I go shoot all these people, and this happens,
I win.
And I win, and talk to them about, because
solo.
they love
There's a solo thing that they would say. I was solo. I was like, what does that mean? Because I was the last one left.
And they love it that they know more than you do, and those are good things. So it's all about even they were given an example here. It says. This parent was sharing that her and her son were going through a tough time, and he wrote down some things. He says, I don't know you, and I feel like you don't know me. You talk to me about things that need to be done, but you don't talk to me about my thoughts and feelings. Hey, there's a great, you want to get through this technology stuff. You want to influence your kids' belief systems. You want to engage with them. Man, those are the things that we need to do to make that happen.
Which just tees up the next point perfectly. Teen security is in technology. That's where they are the most comfortable. That's where they've grown up. That's actually where they feel like they have control. That's where they feel like that their beliefs are coming from, where they can impact and improve the world, where they can have an outlet for creativity. It's an entity where they feel like that they are known, and they are understood, that they are. And so it's a false sense of all that. That's not true and it's not real, but to them it is.
Well, and think about this, parents. Our teenagers today are they're shaping their belief system. They've got all this stuff coming at them, and the way God designed it is for the outlet to be their family and their parents, and to talk to things and maybe their brothers and sisters. But instead, sometimes those things aren't safe.
Right.
So that they don't, and that's where we talk about is, how do you create that safe place? Because if you're not safe, they will go to that phone that is safe,
right,
or that social media where they can hide. But if you can do it where you become a safe place, then they're not going to make their security as much in technology.
And so that's what we did is we made sure that we were safe, that our kids could come talk to us, whether they messed up or whether they did something amazing. And we wanted to be available for them. It was always inconvenience when they wanted to talk to us, but we would shut down what we were doing and we would be available. And so be safe and available. And then when they messed up, and they will, we all do, and this is a great time and a season for them to mess up. Their world is getting bigger and they don't know how to handle it, so they're going to mess up, and that's great, because then what you can do is you can extend grace and mercy, and you can be an example of who their true Heavenly Father is and how God responds to them. Because our ultimate goal, wouldn't you say, is our security is not even in parents, it's in God. Yeah. And that's what we want to transfer. We want to be an example of how incredible and amazing God is, so that they will choose God as their security. But right now, they are very much drawn to and attracted to the false security of technology, gaming.
We hear so many parents talk about with their teenagers, I can't get them to talk to me. They are on their technology all the time. And she says in the book here that there is this natural struggle with, and hey, guess what, parents? And she says it in here too, we have the problem too.
Yes.
We have the problem. Our technology has replaced so many things, so many gadgets, so many things, and we go to it, and then we develop habits of going back to it. They're doing the same thing. It was a fascinating quote she had in here. She said, and this was about substances, but I think it relates to technology. She says, 1 in 4 Americans who begin using any addictive substance before age 18 are addicted, compared to 1 in 25 who started using it at age 21 or older. So our kids, there is this natural, let me make sure you understood that. If somebody used a substance when they were before they were 18, there's a 1 in 4 chance they will be addicted to it. But if they use the substance, and I'm assuming that's like alcohol or drugs or whatever, then they will be 1 in 25 chance of being addicted. That's fascinating to me, because it makes them, and it applies to it. What it means is there's tracks being developed. There's this natural conflict going on between, as we try to help our teens not develop habits that are going to last a lifetime.
And that leads to that tees up that last point perfectly, that they are tech addicted. They are addicted to it. And so that lines that up because they've been exposed to it so much, because they have played with it, because they have met their needs, built their beliefs and all that stuff before they were 18. Mm-hmm. They started when they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have been building, like you said, those tracks in their brains for a long time.
Right.
And what that looks like, that tech addicted, it looks like they're tired, they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're depressed, they're lonely. Basically they want to escape real life to go to that technological world that they live in. Once again, we talked about that because in their mind, it's a better place.
Right. And so how do we counteract that?
Right.
We invite them in. I feel like I am constantly trying to drag my boys out of the rooms.
Right.
And so, but I can get mad about that, or I can see, the one of the things I was trying to point out at the first is, it's a normal conflict that you're going through. Don't get mad about it. Just
be aware of it. No,
yeah.
Just know. Now you're equipped with that. Okay, my child is addicted. Okay, don't be afraid of that. Don't be scared of that. So how do you counteract that? You create real experiences. And that's what we did as our kids were growing up. We actually made or worked really hard to make real life more attractive than virtual life.
Yeah.
And so
it's hard. I mean,
it is hard, and it's costly,
effort.
and it takes effort. And if you're working all day and you come home and you're exhausted, then it's a lot easier for them to disappear and go play in their virtual world than it is to gather everybody up and go on a family walk or have a nice, pleasant family dinner because everybody's tired and annoyed.
Sometimes we do it with technology too, where we participate with them in watching a show or something like that. So technology can be a part of it, but that's where getting involved in church, again, go back to purpose. Even with technology, teens have a purpose. I want to conquer that video game or whatever.
Right.
What if we introduce, rather than say, I think we tend to attack it as, video games are bad. Instead, what if we say, hey, this is awesome. This is better. Whether that be a sporting event or a project or, if they're smaller, interacting. The book talks about how we train our kids to become tech addicted because we put the technology in their face instead, because it's harder to create a play date. It's harder to sit down and interact with them, but guess what? That's going to make it better in the long term.
Yeah, and so that's what I was going to say is I just really, if you change anything in your life at all, before you put a bunch of parameters on your kids, create real life experiences for them. And think about that. You can pull them in and say, hey, let's do some real life things instead of some virtual things. What is that? What do you want to do? Okay, we go on vacation. We'll go out on a boat. We'll go on a hike. We'll have friends
even
over.
With the little kids, it's like we just go outside.
Yes, go outside.
Yes,
definitely. Go play. Go on a walk. Go on a nature walk. Just get creative and think. What are some things that we can do? Just think the terminology: real life, virtual life. And if you can create a real life that's more attractive and more interesting than a virtual life, then you won't have to fight the battle.
Yep.
They're not going to be like, I want to play my game. Are you kidding me? We're going to the zoo. We're going to go swimming.
Yeah.
We're going to do, we're going to laugh. We're going to play a game. Virtual. This will be way more fun than that. And when you win them over, then it won't be a battle as much, because reality is they are wired to choose life. They are wired to want to have fun. They're wired to want to laugh and interact. They are wired for relationship. And they want relationship with you. I know it might not look like it and they might not act like it, but it really is in there. And so that's what we're trying to tap into.
I was reminded of you talking to Maddox. I'm going to reveal him again. Is that and he was just saying, you know what, Mom? We've had a week, the last week of our family being there. It's my dad's 90th birthday party, so excited. Everybody came in, and we had everybody in the house, so to speak, for a few days. And at the end of it, Suzanne was talking to Maddox, and he goes, "Mom, we're healthy, and that's why we enjoy each other, and that's why we want." He said, everybody in our family is, they're not perfect, but they're healthy. And therefore and we certainly have technology addictions. We have, all of us, I don't use paper at all. I am all about technology and hopefully in a productive way, but I struggle with technology and being on my phone too much, or looking at my iPad too much, or whatever it is, looking at Facebook too much, or reading about news too much. I absolutely struggle with that. And I think we all do in various ways. But as Maddox said, we're healthy, and so we've developed some habits over time where we do value relationship, and we value relationship. We've taught our kids to value relationship, and it's always a struggle, but it works. And you struggle, but you're getting it gets better. And
Right.
and therefore, and your kids develop habits where they see it for themselves. And I guess, that's kind of what I want to wrap up, is where we started is we're working more on the inside.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you don't put parameters and keep them from getting addicted. Just remember, the longer you can push things off, the less likely they are to be addicted, because the more they're developing other habits. But it's not about just the outside. And when we focus too much on the outside, we destroy the relationship, and we actually drive our kids towards behaviors that we would rather them not do.
Exactly. And so just to wrap up that part too, that know that the technology, what's happening to our kids is they're tired, stressed, overwhelmed. We talked about that. They want to escape, they're lonely, or whatever that is. But when we embrace those relationships, that's truth. We get to draw that out in them. Mm-hmm. Their social media is not going to tell them that they're beautiful and that they're smart and that they're courageous, but another person who sees them is. And so that's what we're going after. Mm-hmm. And so as we wrap up all of this information, and now you kind of know what drives teenagers or drives our kids to want to do technology, and now you've been equipped with, we're going to do real life over virtual life, because real life gives you accurate data and information that builds those tracks that you've talked about. Our question to you is, what are you going to do, to change your impact or rearrange the time and the input that's put into real life versus virtual?
Well, I love the way you wrote this, and Suzanne wrote this. Again, I'm just revealing here, just being super transparent. But I'm going to read it, but she wrote it. It says, the question is not how to control technology. The question is, what's going to work best for your family to meet their relational, spiritual, emotional, technological needs of each child in this season of life? Because when your child's 3, technology is going to have a different way of life. Think about not how are we going to control technology or how are we going to keep technology away from them, but how are you going to use technology to help meet the needs of their life? We all agree that technology is good. We don't want to live in caves. We like electricity. We like air conditioning. We like television sometimes. There's ways to embrace technology. And I love the way you said that. How are we going to use technology? How are we going to see technology?
It's just a piece of it. It's a part of the relational, the spiritual, the emotional, the technological. It's not its own thing. It's not over here. It's part of all of it. And how are we going to use it to our advantage? Yeah. How are we going to use it to build our kids to be a success and not let them get caught up in being tired, stressed, lonely, lied to,
And the way you're going to do that is through relationship.
Yeah.
So that's if you, take
she
that
even
away.
said it. Yeah. So
you're going to do it through relationship, and you're going to do it by seeing technology as an advantage to you, and how you're going to use it to help meet needs. So we hope that has been a very
Let's
valuable.
wrap it up.
Yes,
technology's wrapped up. We'll talk about it again, but it's been a good season.
Yeah, and
series.
So. Questions you have, you can always email us, info@crazycoolfamily.com. We would love to hear your response. We're on social media. We're on podcasts. We are even on YouTube, as we said. And also, just as a quick reminder, we have a membership site called Basecamp. And if you go to our website, you see that. And Basecamp is a way we can not only do this. Podcasts tend to be topical. Basecamp, we teach you all the way through how to build a playbook to build your family. So if you want to go to our website at crazycoolfamily.com, you can find Basecamp there and check it out. It's free and it is available to everyone. So in the meantime, we want you to do, as always, to go be crazy parents, crazycoolfamily.com.